What's up, guys? Today we're going to be making a Southern American treat called biscuits. It's not like biscuits in the rest of the world where it's a sweet dessert. This is more of a savory breakfast bread. So we're going to start with flour. This is really simple, just a few ingredients. We've got about a cup and a half of flour here to make 4 large biscuits. Add a pinch of salt. We're going to add about 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This is what's going to let it rise. And this is most of it here. We're going to add a little butter and water, and that's going to be all the ingredients we use to make this. So super simple from beginning to end, even with baking time. This is done in half an hour. So we add our baking powder. We're going to set that aside. We're going to cut up some butter. You want nice cold butter. You want to do about 1 tablespoon per biscuit if they're large biscuits. So I've got about 40 grams of butter here. I'm going to cut it into small cubes. Cut it lengthwise. You can see it's still nice and cold and firm. Everything being cold is perfect. That's exactly what you need to make biscuits. It's going to help to create the nice flaky layers that we're going to have later when we're putting this together. So we'll dice it up into small cubes. We're going to put it in our flour. And now we're just going to mix it up. Make sure all the butter gets coated on each side with flour. And then we're going to just crush it with our fingers. Just use your fingertips. You don't want the butter to melt. You want it to stay nice and discrete little pieces. And we're looking for kind of a sandy texture. You can see there, small little clumps, but still kind of sandy, dry consistency. So we're going to use ice water, super cold. We're going to add just a little bit of water at a time. The water really depends on how dry your flour is, how much butter you add, that sort of thing. So just add a little bit at a time. You can see I'm adding maybe a quarter of a cup here each time. I've made biscuits hundreds of times, and each time it takes a little bit different amount of water. So keep adding it until it comes together into a nice soft dough ball. And we'll just keep stirring it to the bottom, making sure all the flour on the bottom gets moist. You can see it's starting to come together here. We still need a little bit more. It's kind of shaggy. There we go. Just a little bit more water. And we'll just keep mixing it up. I think we're going to need one more touch of water on this because you can still see a little bit of pieces aren't sticking together. We want a nice coherent ball. And you don't want to overmix this. This isn't like yeast dough where we have to develop gluten. In fact, we don't want a lot of gluten in this. We want a nice flaky dough, and we do that by not having too much gluten. So that makes it super simple. You don't have to do a lot of work. There we go. Our dough balls come together, no little pieces hanging off. Now we're going to get our cutting board here, and we're going to add some flour down. This is going to help everything not stick together. So we take our dough ball now, get a little flour on our fingers so the dough doesn't stick to us, and then we'll dump it out on the board. And then we're going to flip it over to make sure the dough doesn't stick to either side. We'll just press it out flat. Turn it over. Get it in kind of a square shape, and then we fold it over. It's that simple. Now we got 2 layers. So our cold pieces of dough are going to help this stay in nice discrete layers. It's called laminated. Now we got 4 layers. We're going to flip it again, press it out flat, flip it again. We're going to end up with 64 total layers here. You can count it long if you want, but each time we fold it, we're going to double the amount of layers. You can see there, they're very discreet. At the end, it's going to make a nice flaky dough you can pull apart and make little sandwiches out of. This is great. You can even tell when it's getting firm as you're pushing down. It'll start to absorb all the flour that's on the table. This is great. Just keep pushing down, make it nice and square. There you go, just like that. So now we're going to get our baking dish. I'm just using a metal pan I have. Get a piece of parchment, fold it hot dog wise, now hamburger, and now we're going to do it diagonally. Do it diagonally again, and then we'll just hold the tip to the center of the pan, and right where our thumb is, that's where we're going to cut it. So this is a little tip to line your baking dishes. This is great for cakes, brownies, anything you're going to make in a metal pan and need a lining for. So we'll just cut it off, put it in there, and you see it fits perfect. So now, best way to cut up biscuits is just use a knife. This keeps you from having to really have any waste, having to do any extra work. You know exactly how many biscuits you're going to get. Perfect. Look at all those layers inside. And these are going to puff up and expand. You want them to be slightly touching when you put it in the pan. That way when they cook, they can push on each other and kind of raise up and get those nice layers. You want it to be puffy at the end. So we're going to put this in an oven for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Put a little bit of melted butter on top so your top layer gets nice and crispy and dark like that. And you can see all the layers, how they've expanded, puffed up. Yeah, it looks beautiful. There's a little closer shot of all the layers. And these come apart easily just to make perfect little sandwiches. You can see it's steaming hot. I love the bottom. The butter kind of drips down and fries the bottom. It's perfect. You can do it savory sandwiches. I'm going to do them with a little butter at first. but you can do steak, fried chicken. This is the last of my honey. Perfect use for the end of my honey bottle because this was a great breakfast for me. Again, 30 minutes from beginning to end. Super simple, super easy. You can make a small amount pretty quickly. This is great, guys. I hope you get a chance to make this nice southern treat. This is great, guys. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.